rising. And when I get that feeling, I want sexual healing. Sexual healing. It's good for me. Makes me feel so fine. It's such a rush. Helps to relieve the mind. And it's good for us. Sexual healing, baby. It's good for me. Sexual healing is something that's good for me. Well, it's good for me. And it's so good to me, my baby. Oh, come take control. Just grab a hold of my body and mind. Soon we'll be making it, honey. Oh, be feeling fine. The way you heal me, the way you thrill me, keep me coming to you. For you to sexually fulfill me. You're my medicine. Open up and let me in. Darling, you're so great. I can't wait for you to operate. Heal me. I can't wait for you to operate, baby. Heal me. I can't wait for you to operate. Baby, when I should be asleep at night, I stay up and read. And baby, I can't help but feel uptight for my passion needs. And when I get this feeling, I want sexual healing. When I get this feeling, I want sexual healing. Baby, I can't stand it much longer. It's getting stronger and stronger. And when I get this feeling, I need sexual healing. Oh, when I get this feeling, I need sexual healing. I got to have sexual healing, darling, 'cause I'm all alone. I need sexual healing, darling, till you come back home. Please don't procrastinate. It's not good to masturbate. Heal me.
My Imhotep, Grand Rising, Better Love. You're listening to the Truth to Power show, and I'm Beverly, and we have a guest with us tonight. His name is Hood Mystic, and we're going to be talking about sex and spirituality. Hood Magic, Hood Mystic, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, Miss Beverly. How are you?
Great. Good to have you back with us.
You can hear
again.
me okay?
Yes, I can hear you good.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
so,
it's good to be back
for
sure.
Thank you. For the people that don't know who you are and what you do, can you kind of tell them who you are and what you do?
Sure. Well, my name is Kyrie Anthony. I'm an author, astrologer by trade. I've written books such as How to Read Natal Charts Easily and Effectively, Chakra Nova, and Astrology Explained, just to name a few. I prioritize spiritual development in melanated people. I've been doing this work full-time since 2016. Married, have 4 children, all boys. I live in the Detroit area. So if you're in the area wanting a link or just, build, you can find me. I'm always doing psychic fairs and just trying to be in the community and trying to help people the best way that I can. I know it's not just all on me. I know we all have our own little part to play, but I wake up every morning excited about my part to play in the conscious evolution of black men and women.
Excellent. Do you have like a number or website that people that's not in the Detroit area can get in contact with you?
For sure. The easiest way to contact me would be email, and that's Hood Mystic, HOOD, Mystic, MYSTIC, C as in cat, @gmail.com. But you can also visit my website, hoodmystic.com, and from there you will get like all of my information. I'm really big into psychedelics at this present time in my life, to just not like tripping out, but microdosing. So if you want any information on that, you can visit hoodmystic.com as well and just look for White Rabbit Psychedelics. Click that link, and you'll get information on that. But, yeah, hoodmystic.com and hoodmystic@gmail.com is where you can get all the information and contact me.
Excellent, excellent. Now, before we get into our topic, sex and spirituality, have you looked into seeing what's going on as far as the astrology, as far as the country of the United States and all of this stuff that we're involved in?
Oh, yeah. You know, America is going through a Pluto return, you know, so this country was founded on a particular date, right? July 4th, 1776. That's the country's birthday. So when you was born, you had a birthday. And with each birth date is a astrological snapshot. And so the most important thing that we're experiencing in this country is a Pluto return. And we might look at certain things like COVID-19, the recession, you know, war, and think like, man, this country is going crazy. But at an astrology level, we're going through a Pluto return. So Pluto is the planet of transformation. So just think of it as like 1950. You just driving down your street. Hey, guys, how you doing? You know, how's little Billy doing? How's his baseball game? Oh, he's doing great. You know, that was 1950. Now, if Pluto is Pluto returning, we have what is called a transformation. So all that is gone. We don't even know our neighbors no more. You know, it's a different world. So because we're in a different world, we got to have a different way of attacking this thing. And so for us, you know, we could be aligned with the country, or we could be aligned with our spirit, our souls, because this country was built in 1776. Our lineage, our understanding is timeless. So it's very important to get on the astrology train and study your chart, but also get into the science of new beginnings and transformation. Like, how are you setting the intention for your life, like, brand new? Because what I'm saying is a lot of times we had it, well, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get me a house, I'm a, you know, cookie cutter, white picket fence, 2.5 kids. That time is over. So it's like, do you have sustainable living? Do you have access to clean water? Like, what is your game plan for not to survive? For some of us, it would be survival, but really to thrive. Like, what is your community like? What is your social skills like? All of these things that we didn't have to really think about because we had our jobs, we had our dreams and our ambitions. But as we notice, things are getting realer and realer. And for some people, they can go more into a fantasy. But for some of us, most of us, we have to figure out how are we going to survive in this world, because it's not a game and it's not a fantasy. So where is your team at? What are y'all doing? Like, some people probably still going out, having fun, don't have a team, just think that life is just this whimsical thing. But we're going to get back to how it used to be before this country was what it was. It set up a way of life for the people that's not natural to us. So what we now getting back into what is natural, and what's natural for human beings is a tribal way of living. That's how we was for millions and millions of years. And this invention called United States of America does not absolve us from being a tribal, connected people. So that's how I can kind of view it, like this astrology and relating that to United States and to the people and what we must do moving forward.
So you're saying that we need to get back into our tribal, our clan, group activity, neighborhood, family, things like that. So do you see? Okay. So and also because of what's going on, a lot of people are bonding and coming together because they fighting against, the system or whatever they feel that is going on with government and political. So people are coming to just like they protest Target and protest the beer. People are coming together under certain causes here. So you're saying that has a lot to do with the Pluto, where it's
Pluto return. Yeah, because it's like maybe what I view it as is like people had their mindset, and the mindset was in an illusion. So what's now happening is like we're going to click up and fight, but usually it's like you gaining lifelong friends, you gaining people who can support you. And if you look at the world, not just in America, just go to any country, people support one another. It's just here where we have this crazy ego of like we can just do this thing by ourselves. And like even if, some people feel like they can still be isolated, but even what we're doing right here is a form of community building in a space where it's better than nothing, right? So even if you get on Zoom with people or be more active on social media, I think that's better than just kind of just having this silent, like, what is the word I'm looking for? I'm suffering in silence, right? That's no good.
All right. And so, and also looking at the stars or the science of astrology, what do you see happening, as far as what the so-called government or where we at, here?
Well,
they're talking about wars and rumors of wars and all of that and all of this child stuff that's going on and the people at the borders. It's just a lot of stuff going on. So what do you see, looking in the stars and seeing what they say?
Well, I've seen like a major war taking place, like a major spiritual war, and then how it played out as a covert war down here. So when you look at Pluto's placement, Pluto is in Capricorn. Capricorn is like very centered on money, getting money. And then it moved into Aquarius, where now it's like trying to help other people, trying to, expand through communication, the age of information, stuff like that. So it's like some people still in that paradigm of like getting money. But then some of us are moving in, and it started a long time ago. Like, like you have been doing this work, so for so long, like talking to Bobby Hemmett and those types of conversations that like put a seed in my brain years and years ago to even begin to be the person that I am today. So it's just like we're all taking part in this, but it's like we talking, but it's more of like a war for real. Because the way that the energy or the demiurge energy win is if we just be quiet, if we don't say nothing, if we don't talk about this stuff, and we don't explore this type of energy. So it's like now we're in a place where we can have these conversations. Some people don't want to talk. Some people don't want to listen. So that's the spiritual war that we really dealing with, like being able to expand and open our minds as Pluto moves in Aquarius, and we truly be in the space where each one teach one, learning what you live and learn, like, living what you learn, you know, not trying to have levels of, like, clout and success, which a lot of the world is about, even in the spiritual community. But astrology right now, we coming out of an eclipse season. So it was a lunar eclipse and it was a solar eclipse that we just came out of. So if you haven't been paying attention to it, I mean, even if you have been paying attention to it, it could have got a little rough over these past 2 to 3 months. Or it could have been real easy depending on how serious are you with your spiritual and soul development. Because the eclipse was real life portals for, like, major change that's taking place on the earth and on the world. So right now, out of the eclipse, the full moon in Scorpio, and that's what we're experiencing right now. So with the Epstein thing, like, that's really big, you know. A lot of people, like, for real, I think that Trump is still the president, and I think everything else is for show, right? Because, like, a lot of this stuff, before all of this stuff had happened, people would be talking about how, you know, they're going to arrest all of these people and these people is already took out and, you know, it's a whole bunch of stuff happening. And then that stuff kind of quieted down when Trump lost the election. But with Joe Biden always falling, if you look at pictures of him in 2008 versus who he is now, look like a completely different person, right? So
it is, yeah.
Yeah, he not, like, you look at Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, like, it's a fictitious government and something really suspicious happening in the world. So I honestly think that either the country is stronger than it ever has been or it's been taken over from the inside out. And we just going to be the last to know, being citizens of this country. Because when you look at COVID-19 and everything that happened after that, it's been nothing but weird stuff happening in the world. And, like, every strong voice have been silenced, like from Dick Gregory, Francis Cress Wilson. Like, a lot of these energies have been silenced due to they would be the ones saying, if Dick Gregory was alive, he'd be the first one saying this is all BS, you know, calling out names and things of that nature. And it'd be like, well, he was old. He wasn't old like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't his time, you know. But we are in this world where words and logic is being suppressed, and now we just got to use our vigilance and understand, like, it's a lot of shady shit that's happening in the world. So be very mindful of your tribe. Be very mindful of the people that you are dealing with, because at the end of the day, I personally feel that the regime is going to change. Like, you don't think, I hope that people think that what's happening in Chicago is just like some random thing, right? This is strategic. This is planned out. And this has been happening for so long, I done lost track. I remember my neighborhood used to be all black people. Now it's all white people. But they've been slowly doing, they call it gentrification, but now they just moving all of the migrants into Chicago. Now, these people got everything that we don't have, right? And they show it on the news all the time. People crying like, I can't even pay my rent. And they giving these people new cars, new houses, because these is all agents. These is all people that's going to usher in this major regime change. And a lot of us can be real ignorant. But then, although it's a lot of people who are aware, and people who got their guns, people who got their family, people who got their tribe. It's a lot of people like that too. So I just encourage people to do more research on, like, survivalists and, like, having a firearm, not to scare you, but you can't be ignorant to what's happening in the world. Because what if these people come in your neighborhood?
Well, if you look at it, they say nothing is new, everything is repeating itself. But if you really go back to when America was taken over by the foreigners, it was the same thing. They say Christopher Columbus, but it was even before that. And when they came over just like they're doing now. They came over boatloads. And they
came
just,
over in the
took over and they took over the neighborhoods, and that's what they're doing, now. So,
and the cycle is repeating itself. Ellis Island, things like that.
But my thing is, if we know all of this, how come we don't do things? If we've seen it happen before, how come we can't do things to not make it repeat itself? Is it, is it?
Yeah, I mean,
it's
like talking to brick walls.
But a lot of people feel like, how are we going to stop it? Because they coming over, the government, the corporation, it's like they bringing them the takeover. They bringing them over here. But then it's like, and most people are like, well, what we going to do? But I feel like that if you do like they doing in Chicago, they pushing back. This is what you was talking about when you got to come together. You got to have your clan, your tribe. You got to come together. One person can't do it, but if it's a group of you, push back so they can bring them here. But then that you don't let them take over. Hello?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I had it on mute on accident. But if it's just 10 of y'all is a lot better than 100 people, watching the latest music video or something like that. It can be the masses still doing what they do, but it don't take a lot of us to organize and fight in the courts or fight for legislation. The reason why we feel so victimized a lot of times is because we don't even attempt or we don't even try to organize. But, I feel like in reference to spirituality, everything being right and exact, sometimes you got to get that kick in the butt, right, to feel like you got to start to do something. And all of my spiritual development started from quote unquote negative situations. When I was high on the ham, I didn't care about meditation. I didn't care about organizing, but having children and trying to organize my children and trying to create a legacy for my children, I think about doing things in a different way because I don't want to perpetuate that everything is just all good. Sometimes you got to fight. Sometimes you got to transmute and transform negative to positive. And I feel like right now is one of those moments where if you look at it spiritually or astrologically, we just dealing with alchemy. And we dealing with entropy, where the crazy lower level energies, they get wiped away, and only the cream of the crop, is around. So that might be messed up for a lot of people, but we got a choice right now to educate ourselves, expand, and develop, and not, acquiesce to the pressures from the outside world.
So really what it's doing is it's making you really tap into and become an alchemist, because that's what that's what change is about. And so, so either you don't elevate, just sit there, or you turn into, like I just say, an alchemist and make the changes that need to be made.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much. And it's kind of hard to think about it because we want everything to be good, right? But it's a process to that, and that's called alchemy. And it's the Negredo, and Negredo is the darkness. It is the messed up aspects of life that we can recognize and do something about, as opposed to just simply ignoring these things.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. And so now, what is this sex and spirituality? Where is that at?
Well, I've been doing a lot of work with the younger community, the Generation Zs, and they was the first generation to have cell phones in middle school, right? So if you have in middle school, your brain is developing, but when they're exposed to what the cellular phone gives you as far as like sexual options and like Pornhub and all, it's like a buffet of sexual things that a child can be exposed to. It did a lot, and trying to discuss spiritual things. And it's millennials, which is my age, from like 1984 to about 1995, my age range. And then everybody after that, if you do like, they doing studies everywhere, we real messed up in the head, and it's mainly due to oversaturation of sex, which brings unrealistic expectations in our relationships. But then when we're trying to discuss spiritual things and trying to maintain spiritual habits, it's very difficult because your side or sacral chakra or sexual organs represent the foundation. So our spiritual foundation is our sexual organs. But now we live in a world where sex is just something that you can access with a touch of a button. And now we don't really have a solution or a recourse. And so that's kind of what I've been really centered on and focused on, is just kind of having conversations with people, sometimes to trigger, sometimes to really get them to start thinking about how they act unconsciously, because as much as we say sex ain't nothing and sex is just, whatever, when you really try to love and you really try to grow and you really try to build that part, like that little part, if that part is missing, where people can connect to you sexually, ain't nothing going to go down. So, like, now I'm getting to a point where, like, relationships and family and friends trying to figure out, like, well, why can't I connect? What is the thing? And through my research and through my study, I feel like as a collective, and especially younger people my age, I'm 38 and younger, are really having a hard time connecting to people because our spiritual foundation has been shattered, right? We never had time to separate sex and spirituality, and then we get into relationships, base it on sex. When the sex part dry off, we don't have nothing to sustain and build the relationship. So you have in the community baby mamas, baby daddies, because the relationship is based on sex. And, of course, sex bring about the kids, but it didn't bring about a healthy, loving relationship. And we got to know that we are black people, and black people was the most married people out of all people. Now we are the less married people out of all people. And as much as we try to talk about spiritual things, meditation and chakras and whatever thing we can talk about, I find it rare that we get into the nitty-gritty of what's your spiritual foundation in relation to sex and healing that. So we could have, like, stronger bonds between men and women outside of just sex. For a lot of times, if the sex ain't satisfying, it could be the best person in the world. A person can't even value you nowadays, and that's real sad. So I'm on a crusade, a personal crusade, to understand, but also enlighten and help people in coming together sexually and spiritually, because they're both one and the same.
And then it's kind of confusing too, because we dealing with the LGBT, XYZ, we dealing with the transgender, and you know, so it's kind of like they threw some more stuff in there, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, and then you got in the schools, in grade school, first grade, second grade, they teaching, you know, about
teaching the kids
oral sex and sex. I mean, who's supposed to know about sex at that age, you know? So they messing with the people's spirituality, because sex is
for sure
very spiritual.
It is, you
So
know, and
it
now
seems like it's a warfare going on with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a warfare with the kids, because in the public school system, that's what it is now, you know. And now, you know, you got to really advocate for your kids. You got to really talk to your kids, because the cell phones go back to the Bible and Cain and Abel. Well, Cain had a son named Tubal-Cain, and Tubal-Cain was the creator of metals, and he created all of this stuff, but he didn't create things to help people. He created things to harm people. Now, if you look at Tubal-Cain's sigil, it looked like an F. It looked like the sign for Facebook. Now, when you think about Facebook, you got to think about Instagram and TikTok and all of that too. And this is the thing. This is the attack on people. You know, back in the days, they used to hang us. They used to beat us. They used to do all types of stuff to us because we are black. Now, they don't got to be so visceral with their attack. They can use it just by the thing that you hold in your hand, near and dear. So it's more common that your daughter look on her phone and look at the people on Instagram and look at herself and say, I'm not good enough, for no reason other than she had that phone in her hand. She don't know nobody like that in real life, because in real life people don't put Photoshop makeup on, you know. You just see their real face. So if you just looked at the world, you would feel normal about yourself. But when you get on these phones, it's like this intense lack of viewing yourself as who you truly are and comparing yourself to other people who only showing you the highlights of their life. So you don't even know what that person is going through or nothing. So you just feel inadequate. And people have severe mental health illness, specifically because they hold a phone in their hand all day. No other reason. So it's like, yeah, that's a real attack that's happening in the hearts and mind of our children. And I grew up in a generation where I didn't need a phone, so I kind of know that you could be fine without it. But it's people, grown adults now, that's going to be managers at your job who cannot conceive of life without their phone. You know, so I wouldn't say it's going to get worse, but the mental illness is definitely going to intensify. I don't think it's going to change with these platforms and these algorithms keep sending people this information. So it's got to be something that we advocate in our homes to, like, get our children out into nature, you know, teach them how to engage with the world, because it's really going to shatter us when we don't have no social skills, no way of relating to people, but we got this biology of wanting to have sex. And then we think sex is what we see on the screen, and so we're not bonding with our partners or talking or communicating. We just trying to recreate what we seen on Pornhub, and then say, well, this worked out. I think I'm married. And then when it don't work out, you're like, damn, I wonder what happened. It's like, you know, we just really attacked and shattered from that perspective.
Because, and so are you saying, let me see, are you trying to show people how to use sexuality in a spiritual way? Because if you and your partner, if you could take sex to really a spiritual level if you know how to connect it and make it spiritual. I mean, that is, you can really create some alchemy. So is there certain techniques or I know it's a mindset. What do you say about that?
For sure. Well, in my book Chakra Nova, I got a appendix that's completely devoted to sex magic and relating to your partner. But for this conversation, the first thing that I would say is that partners need to communicate so deeply, so honestly, like just give everything. Because if I really love this person and I really want to be with this person forever, we should be operating on the frequency of truth. And the reason that I say that is that if you decide that you and your partner should do sex magic, but your partner is not forward about that time that he was molested by his uncle, and you wasn't forward about that time that you was touched on and you didn't like it, but y'all say, all right, we can do this sex magic to tap into these other levels of spirituality, and then you might try some stuff that you read in a book and it don't work. You might think that sex magic is a farce. And a lot of people are going to struggle with sex magic in their relationships because the communication is not honest. So first and foremost, being honest. But if y'all cross that threshold of being honest, now you can begin to do things like having intercourse with no movement. You penetrate and, you just sit there and you look into each other's eyes. You don't talk. You hold space. Because what is happening is that you are activating your masculine and feminine energy, and y'all are becoming one energy that is God. The reason that porn is such a big billion-dollar industry, because they need to teach people how to not have sex correctly. Because the moment everybody learn how to have sex the right way, then the game is over. So in Greek mythology, they say Zeus got mad at people one day. He said y'all was BSing too much, and then he separated them. And now it was the males over here and the females over there. And so they were just living, trying to figure out what they need to do. And they're like, I need to be one with my other half, And that was life for people. And that's what life has been, trying to be one with that other half. Now, we can do that consciously. Now, today, you can become God right now, today, if you, as a man, deal with your masculine energy, your partner, deal with her feminine energy, and she becomes her ultimate feminine. He becomes his ultimate masculine. They communicate, and they come together as one entity. Now, if y'all come together and y'all have sex, y'all go, it's a moment in time, right? It's like 15 minutes, 20, however long, and it's over. You like, hey, them sandwiches from earlier, you think it's just on to the next. But that's not sex, right? That's not, and it's definitely not sex magic. So we need to learn how to activate ourselves through the modality of sex, and we need to learn what sex is. So part of it is divine masculines really getting into what it means to be masculine. So if you kind of pudgy, you don't work out, you kind of lazy, but you want your wife to find you sexually desirable, it's going to be a hard sell a lot of times, unless she get into that, and vice versa. So we're going to have to take care of our bodies, take care of our minds, and be the best version of ourselves within our relationship. The reason that I'm saying this is because, give me 1 second. the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of times in relationships, we let ourselves go, right? And then we start arguing and fighting, and it's trouble, and it's trouble in paradise. So then it's like, well, how can we make this relationship better? Let's do sex magic. It don't work, So it's like having a real clear consciousness of that is my other half that Zeus ripped me away from. And now I've found my other half, and now I've become one superpower energy. And the way that we really unify, the only way we can unify, if we really think about it, is if we have sex. And so how we have sex and what we do during sex means everything. So if you can get past the threshold of communicating, having eye contact, then you want to move in to doing mantras. Y'all both, because what is Tantra? Tantra is taken from the word tattvas, meaning voice. Some people think Tantra is just sex within itself, but Tantra is connected to the voice. So this is why when you have sex, people generally moan, and that moan is Tantra, right? But now, what if you had a specific command when you were having sex that you both were saying to one another? And that could be anything, right? But it's very important that I can't stress this enough, because everything that I say, if y'all two ain't honest with one another, it's thrown out the window, because that's the level that we really need to get to in reference to our relationships, and especially doing sex magic.
And it usually be one person might be in, just say
sure.
The woman is in love with the man, but he's not in love with her at the same level that she is in love with him, or vice versa.
For sure.
And yeah. And so, and like you say, sex, that is really very powerful. That is the spiritual. So what is it if just say that, you're going to talk, and sometimes it takes people a little longer to get really deep down into they honest, being really, really honest. They got to talk with you a while. So what do you do, like, when you having sex, and let's say, like you say, now you got so many, especially men that been in jail, and they come out and they want to mess with people. So just like you say, suppose somebody in that sex and it's going good, but then here come this feeling, this memories of you being molested, and so do you just got to keep working at that until y'all kind of connect to get past that little hump?
Yeah, because it shouldn't be a hump, because we are spiritual beings. And a lot of times, like, when you operate at a level of trust, honor, I think, like Charlemagne, he did a little video clip that went viral where he was saying once he stopped cheating on his wife, his career went crazy. And for me, I tell people all the time, my life was in shambles. I met my wife, like, when I knew that was my wife, and she acted like a wife, and she treated me like she was my wife, and she gave me that place. I know, like, women give you a place to kind of, like, rest your head, to kind of know, like, okay, I got you. And that it just made me, it just put a fire under me that, I could never get by myself, So I'm going to say this, and people can agree or disagree, but when you really love your soul and you really trust what it has for you, that's really kind of the start and end for me, because I done made a lot of mistakes with people, but when I really was serious about the spiritual, it absolved all of my iniquities. And I say that to say for people who might struggle in their relationships or struggle to find somebody, because I was absolutely that person. And I didn't know I was a whole mess out here, but I really trusted my spirit, and it sent me people. I magnetized people that were specifically for me in my evolution. Now, I feel like as spiritual beings, we can't pick and point every single person that's in our lives. At a certain level, we got to really trust. And so if you can't trust, you know, and you're dealing with people and you don't really trust them, I would say that don't have nothing really to do with the people. It have everything to do with your ability and your spirit to really protect you, to really guide you in these particular spaces. Because it's like, look at everybody. Like, just thinking, like, I always think about, like, LeBron James getting on the bus to go to the game. He don't know if that person going to swerve and drive off an embankment or something like that. At a certain level, he just got to trust that his team hired a professional driver and they're going to get to the game safe and sound. Like, what I'm saying is that we can get into our relationships and be like, well, what if he cheat on me? Well, what if this come up? And what if that come up? You know, I might as well just not even do it. But it's like, that's also saying that you don't really trust the overall outcome. And sometimes it do make you feel silly. Like, I love my wife and I love our relationship. But as we stated earlier, it's some alchemy that need to be done for it to be perfect. And I can't just be like, well, my wife came into my life and she was just this perfect person and we ain't never have to work through nothing. That's just false. But my heart is saying that I know that we're going to have trouble. But that ain't no reason for me to give up. That's a reason for me to really sit down and have the conversation so we can move through it, evolve through it, and become one, you know, unification. It's called the universe. We're on this mission to become one, and I'm really feeling like society has subverted that and made people be on the mission to simply get money and to have things.
And also a part of it, too, is that a lot of times people be hurt in love and they scared to open up and try it again. It's like you say, it always be that. What if they do me like the other person did me, and what? But the talking should get you through that part.
For sure.
But you know,
having a clear
some
communication.
people just but some people shut down so that they don't even get to the talking stage. Just be like, I don't want no parts of it. Leave me alone. You know.
And it's so funny, Miss Beverly, because I was thinking that same thing of, like, the reason why I did this. Just today, I was like, you know, people, you can say things. I said that I was thinking the tongue is a sword, right? So as much as I advocate for communication in my relationships, I know I be pissing my wife off a lot of times. I don't even be meaning to. You know, I just will say stuff, not even knowing how it's going to affect the other person. And it will cause a person to shut down. So that is the truth.
Mm-hmm. Well, the number here is 323-642-1586. If you have a question or a comment, you can call in. We have Hood Mystic with us, and we're talking sex, spirituality. But any question or comment that you have on any subject, spirituality, anything like that, you can ask. Let's see. We have a 216-358. You're live.
Yes, hi. I was listening to the show and listening to Hood Mystic share truths. Let's see. And I thought that there was, and I didn't know if there was going to be readings, but there won't be.
Well, I mean, it's up to him. If you have a question, you're going to answer. It's up to him. He got his cards.
All right. My name is Patricia, and I'd like to find out what excuse me, what's coming forth for me, and should I give you specific areas in my life to pinpoint?
Can you repeat that for me? I'm sorry.
Should I give you specific or particular questions?
No, that would work.
Okay.
I just didn't hear you at all. I'm sorry.
Yes, I would like to get some clarity on the rest of this year for me with my relocating and living in another new state, city, and basically just starting over again. My health, housing, financial, relationships. But yeah, I'm leaving summer. I should be relocated and living in the Southwest, which I believe will be better for me as to where I've been living here in Midwest Cleveland, Ohio. Thank you.
All right. So it would seem as though like you had reached a culmination to where you were at presently. And I feel like that's a normal process. And I'm saying that's a normal process so you don't attribute guilt to a job well done or a mission completed. It's kind of like the cycle of life. And so we go into ourselves and we start over. Once again, a natural process that doesn't require guilt attributed to it. I will also say, when you think about yourself, you got to really separate from the masculine influence for a second, because it would seem as though people's words play out in your mind, and it's like a recording constantly playing in your mind, and every time you hear this recording, it has a particular feeling associated with it. So when you do start over and you move to a new place, which is all fine and dandy, are you ready to reset your mind? Are you ready to look at the new place that you're in with a new understanding of who you are outside of what people say about you? Because what I feel is that you've internalized some things that people have said to you, and they've become part of your identity, and they are not a part of your identity. Part of you has a strong goddess resonance, a strong spiritual resonance, but that requires work, and part of that work is kind of letting go of the parts of you that are not true. So, yeah, you can move to a new location and get settled, but what about that mind? Has that mind been restarted? How do you look at yourself? Because you're going to be in a new environment, and you could be looking at yourself in a new environment as the same old person, but there is a certain level of spiritual strength that's being bestowed upon you, but you have to yield it. You have to show it. You have to let people know you have that spiritual strength. So, I mean, you can't fake it. You have to really do the work. So that means waking up, having a routine. What is your everyday plan going to be in reference to who you are wanting to become? And it's not doom and gloom. It's like, don't associate negative emotions to starting over. Don't associate negative emotions to letting go. These are all natural and good processes that lead you to your highest height. And holding on to things is like the bad thing. Staying in the same place is the bad thing in this particular place, in this particular spot you're in. Hope that helped.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm definitely doing a lot of releasing, cleansing of trauma and stress and abuse and all that's been going on here, and really just wanting to and just really open to creating and designing and living newer, better quality of life and more fulfillment, and yes, in other areas, and preparing financially for myself, as well as creatively. Ease. Yes, and getting some new skill set and moving forward and developing talents and gifts and those skills. So.
Yes. You have an abundance of talent. It's just, being in abusive and toxic situations, it doesn't really show us our real self. So spirit will sometimes push us out of toxic situations. Anything can happen to a person that don't treat you right. So don't worry about what's going to happen to people who not acting in a certain favor, because they tend to get, wiped out or moved out your way. So, hopefully you understand that the past relationship has been moved out the way so you can really step into who you are spiritually. It could be a whole bunch of different reasons why we get ourselves into toxic relationships, but if we can identify a relationship to be toxic, then the next step is to allow our spirit to guide us and move us out of those situations. I'm only speaking from real knowledge of, like, if you have a destiny, nobody is going to stand in the way of that. And I feel as though you do have a destiny, you do have a path. So trust in that.
Yes. All right. Yeah. I am looking forward to relocating and living in the Southwest, and I've felt for this past couple of years that I've been pulled there, and there's no family or friends there. So I sense that it is something meaningful that will be in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
do you have it set up?
Go ahead.
Do you have it set up, or are you just going to go?
Well, no, I'm starting to do research, on with my computer. I mean, I went to visit a couple of cities and states, and starting with, this is 23, 21, and I went to Phoenix, Arizona, thinking that and see if what I could sense or feel, and just really try to grasp while I was being pulled, and I mean, I could only spend about 3 days, 3 nights there. And the people generally were helpful, meaning I was on public transportation, navigating and looking at neighborhoods, and obviously wasn't probably enough time. But anyway, I sensed it wasn't there, and I visited Albuquerque, New Mexico, and obviously don't know anyone there either. But it seemed like maybe the energy wasn't quite there either. So, but I'm gonna stay within New Mexico and just go south of Albuquerque. And
I would say what to help you is to just work through the negative emotions that you feel in your heart, because even though it seems as though you have feelings and pulls towards certain places, you're also not clear. And part of this work is clarity. And the main thing that pulls us away from clarity is our deep emotions that really affect our hearts and really affect our throat chakra and also affect the way that we think. So if you're holding on to something and you know that you're holding on to it, but it's not in your face all the time, it's like in the background playing like excuse me, but you need to develop a way to heal that pain. And I'm saying this not in specific to the pain, but specific to you being clear on where you should go and what you should do. You are very powerful. You have an abundance of spiritual gifts, but it's hard to really get clear on what Spirit is telling you because there is a level of misunderstanding when it comes to a relationship dynamic that you haven't got clear on. So because of that, your ability to really love, which love is the thing that is going to be the thing that encapsulates everything, that makes everything make sense. But when we have a broken heart, it's almost impossible for us to really love at the level that we should love. So it would be cool to sightsee and visit these places, but if you're not clear internally, it's going to be very, very difficult to be clear externally.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so since you got your cards out, I'll put myself out there. What are you picking up with the cards, sir?
Give me a couple, not too long.
Okay, and the call-in number is 323-642-1586 if you have a question or comment to our guest, Hood Mystic.
All right, so it just seems like, and this could be something on my behalf, but it seems like it's a time of a new beginning for you and really setting those intentions in a place that is not new for you, but it's something that you haven't done in a long time. And it's like we really, truly need to see ourselves in clarity, where it could be people in your inner circle that you love with your whole heart, but for lack of better words, they full of shit. And in reference to you setting your intentions, if you don't plan according to the people in your circle, it might seem like you're being blocked or somebody is stopping you. But it's like you not being stopped at all. Because I got the 7 of Swords and the 7 of Wands. So it's like the 7 of Swords is like a lie. But then the 7 of Swords is on top of, the 7 of Wands is on top of it like victory. So in reference to your Ace of Swords, your ability to create a clear intention. So it's kind of like a warning to like, you can't really get rid of people that you love, but I would just say plan accordingly, or don't be ignorant to a person that probably don't got their stuff together or don't really love their soul, and they don't love their soul, but you love them. So you allow your love for this particular person to throw off your intention work. And so that's kind of initially what I got.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Obatala comes up, where it's like you got to have that clean cup of water and offer that to your ancestors and really be pure of heart, pure of mind, because people are not a reflection of you a lot of times, especially if they haven't done the work, which you have done the work. So you need to really reflect and sit with your ancestors and sit with your guides and really get back to basics and really just be pure with it. And then when it comes to people who are in your, disrupting your energy field, you got to create a plan surrounding that.
Right. Okay. So you're right on. And I do have another call.
For sure.
347, Tutmos.
Hey, Bev, how you doing tonight?
Good.
Doing
good.
well.
That's great show. I had wanted to make a comment because I was listening to the brother speak, and he was talking about the generation. And there's an article that came out a couple years ago and another one this year, and it was kind of showing how the first one, I think it was 2019, how young men today are virgins at a higher percentage, than any other time. And it was actually an article, I think they said men under 30 was almost 6 times more likely to be a virgin than a woman under 30. And I think that he was talking about a lot of problems in the relationships. I find that a lot of this has to do with young men who haven't been in a relationship before, dealing with a female who's been in 5, 6, 7, 8 relationships. You know what I'm saying? And just not able to really being able to catch up. And I think that that's a huge problem. And also, when you take the fact of generally most of the women are having sex with the same men. You know what I'm saying? So by the time that they realize that they want to settle down, these guys that don't have the experience are more financially stable, more better off. But you're bringing in your baggage from these past relationships to someone who doesn't have the baggage. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why you see such a low marriage rate in the black community. A guy who's made money and done things doesn't want to deal with a female who is bringing in a kid or two from somebody else that, probably didn't even marry them, So I think that's a huge problem that's causing the breakdown in the relationships in our community.
Indeed, I agree. And it's like, the solution that I came with is for men to really get on their spiritual journey, and begin to really spiritually develop. Because at a certain point, when you're, say, for instance, 20, and you dealing with a 20-year-old attractive young lady, she is out of your league. She's about to run circles around you, and you're going to be so in love with her, and she's going to be playing the field. And then, you know, you might get older. You might get 30, 32, and the reality is you might can double back, you know, and, like, you could take 12 years to build your life up as a man and then be able to provide a life for a woman and have a better selection. Young men tend to really love women without the capacity to be able to do it. And so we get our heart broke early, and it throws us off a lot. If I'm 38 now, I would have just left women alone in my 20s if I knew how it worked. You know, if I knew that I needed the reason why women weren't giving me the energy that I wanted because I wasn't the man that I was supposed to be at. And I think if men really, really focused in on themselves, they would have a lot less trouble with women. But because all of the music, everything that we absorb, especially young black men, tell us that if you don't have a woman on your arm that look a certain type of way, then you don't have the value that you need. But as we come to realize, like you said, you know, sometimes it'd be like we walking into a minefield and we ill-prepared to even provide and lead and be the thing that a woman needs in a relationship. So a lot of times we don't know that we need to be that we need to better ourselves. And so we can put a lot on the woman, but sometimes a woman just is a woman and she just going to go to the next best thing. And if we're not the next best thing as a man, it's not really her fault. You know, it got a lot to do with us. And like you said, women are having sex with the same type of man. So does that mean that we can't elevate and we can't better ourselves? Because I wish I knew what I knew in my 20s then, but I didn't. And that is my fault. I had to take full accountability and responsibility for not using my time wisely to be the best version of myself, because I was chasing tail when I was in my 20s. That's my fault as well. So a lot of times they put out these articles and we have these talking points, but within these talking points, it absolves us of accountability in our relationship. Like, what did we do to create the situation? So the more that we learn and better ourselves, I know this for a fact, the easier our relationships become. Because, quick little example, I used to feel very weary of, like, women, what they were doing when I wasn't seeing them, when I wasn't around them. I like, is she cheating on me? Is another dude around her? And I would think that would be something about her, but really it's my insecurity. And the thing that helped me become more secure is the love for my soul and my spiritual development. So now it's not that my wife is always around me, but if she isn't around me, I don't care. And if she decides to cheat or do something, I really do love my soul. So whatever negative thing that she wants to do, she's going to have to deal with that karma or energy. It's like I'm at peace with what another person does. But that peace allows for my wife to really treat me good, because when you really do love the soul, when you really get into your spiritual development, that's when people start treating you well and treating you good. And I think men need to really experience that to really feel what I'm saying.
Oh, for sure. I think that I see in my generation, I'm 45.
How old are you?
45, right?
Okay, yeah, for sure.
So in my generation, we had to go outside.
For sure.
We had to be made fun of by the older guys. If you know what I'm saying, and you learn from watching them how to talk, what to say, and you broke that fear of,
For sure.
talking. What I find, like, in this, not your generation, but the generation after you, 20s, due to social media, due to not going outside, due to living their life behind the screen, and they don't have the ability, or should I say that they lack the social skills to even engage with one another without something in their hand, right? So what I said this before on Bev's show. I had went out with my wife, and it was a date going home, but ended up at the Olive Garden, and I made reservations for the wrong day. It was terrible. And what I noticed was the girls and the guys, they eat separately. So the guys come in, 4 or 5 guys, and they eat at a table, and then you see a group of girls, and they sit over there. And I'm like, man, back in my day, we would be trying to talk to them girls over there. Like, somebody's going to walk over there and try to break the ice, and you know what I'm saying? Like, but they were just very comfortable. And the attitude of the female is they don't want to be spoken to. They via apps, right? So my daughter was away at college, and she was telling me how her friend had brought a guy to the dorm room, and some guy she had just met on an app online. You know what I'm saying? And I guess they kicked it off. And so that's dating now. Is y'all have sex first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't the courting aspect of it, to get to know someone. I think you alluded to that earlier, where you did it a few times, and next thing you know, they're getting married. You know what I'm saying? Because they never courted. You know what I'm saying? Courting each other.
No communication.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So I just see doom ahead, like not just for just due to the technology, and as it gets more progressive. Because I mean, let's look. When I was a little kid, there wasn't no cell phone. So I remember when cable came out. We had like 7 channels. You know what I'm saying? So the cell phone, at first all you could do was make calls, and then you could sit there and hit 1 8 times to get a capital A. And then, the smartphone came out, and boom, now you got Facebook and Instagram. And I was working at a law firm, and 77% of all the divorce cases was listed in it was a social media site. That was what caused the divorce. She found out her husband was cheating.
Or Instagram or
Facebook
something.
or Instagram, exactly. And I just like how the world has changed just due to this one device, and how it's totally destroyed our community's relationships. 26% of black women are married, 33% of black men are married. You know what I'm saying? We're the lowest statistic. The next up to us is white people. They're like 50-something%. You know what I'm saying? And that's bad because Chinese people are like 90%. You know what I'm saying? They're all married. But it's just how our whole community is deteriorated since in the 40s when we were 80% married about there to now we're 20-something% married and no one gets along, but yet the kids are still popping out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah.
It's a mass psychosis, Yep. Thank you, bro.
And so what is what it is, it seems like technology is taking the place of human contact. So you see so many, like you say, the cell phone. People just have the cell phone, and they on the technology more so than versus with each other. They talking to each other through through technology, instead of that one-on-one energy.
And not just relationships. Like you had, I'm sorry to cut in, but
Go ahead.
during COVID, right? And I'm in New York, so the subways was kind of empty because nobody had to go to work. You know what I'm saying? So the subways was empty, and it was a guy, a homeless person, who hit a chick upside the head, threw her on the ground, and lifted up her skirt and proceeded to try to rape her 11 a.m. in the afternoon. And all they did was pulled out their phones and started recording. No one grabbed the dude, kicked him, punched him, tried to help her. Their way of helping her was to record it. You know what I'm saying? So they could show what happened, as opposed to actually helping her. And just to show like it's not just a relationship; it's destroyed how we just think in general.
Yeah.
They was choking the dude out on the train. You know, the white dude had him in a headlock for like 15 minutes, and all they did was record it. No one said, "Yo, get off him." You know, try to kick him or something. Yo, get off him. You know what I'm saying? But
it's like that. And it's like very much of trying to advocate to people and, you know, get them out. Like for me, with people like my close, like people that I really love, I got to talk to people now. And I know that sounds like, you know, like duh, but, you know, I know a lot of families where they talk via text message, you know. And they'll be upstairs and downstairs, and they'll, you know, when I was at home, it'd be like, come upstairs, you know, my mom would be yelling at me from across the room. I'd be like, what, Mom? She'd be like, pick up this remote. The remote be like right there. We're like, oh my goodness. But now, you know, everybody is like in this technology, in this world, and it's like we do not have a way of even just like talking. So when you talk to people, if you ain't talking to like trigger something that's been hidden, you're going to just be talking above the surface with people. And that's what we just know how to do. Hey, how you doing? I'm good, you know, in our homes. You know, how was school today? It was good. You've been saying that for the whole school year. Ain't no way school just been good every single day. But, you know, everybody working, everybody in our phones, and the thing that we are not having is these conversations. And especially if you got daughters, sending them out to college, I can tell you talk to your daughter, but I'm sure the girl that she was in her dorm room with probably don't even have a real relationship to even know, like, this is not the way to, you know, operate, you know, in society. But now it's just like people is just like on them apps, they linking and they having sex. But then when they get older, they're going to be figuring out, well, how do I get married and how do I have a family and all of this type of stuff? But it's like you gave that away in your college years, in your 20s. You just gave it away because it's like the reason that sex and spirituality for me is so real is because when you want to have these conversations with people that you truly love, you can't really get nowhere with them because the past sexual relationships have been so traumatic that internally people get destroyed. Like by men sexually, like men are very visceral and violent. They don't know romance. They haven't learned how to make love to a woman and nurture and care for her and, you know, touch her sweet spots. They just in it like, you know, a hammer, you know. And if a woman have all of these experiences, it's like what has been something that's so sacred and so loving and so delicate, you know, it's just like, you know, just something to do, you know. And that's real sad because then you're gonna get married. That part of the relationship is just like it ain't there, you know, the specialness of it. So like you said, the future is not looking too bright for this generation in the way it's going, but at least we can have these conversations. And I feel like same way as when we're listening to Bobby Hemmett and the things that he used to say, when he used to say it sounded so crazy back then, but you look at the world today, it's almost like he knew exactly what was going to happen. So I feel like if we can have these conversations now, hopefully we can begin to start the change of how people even communicate with each other and grow with one another. Because now I'm telling you, the generation under me think that the way that we come together is if we sexually compatible. And if it ain't that, then ain't no reason to be around one another. And that's sad.
Yeah. It was
go ahead.
I was just gonna say it was an episode of Black Mirror, and the kids did everything in their like iPads in the episode, and the parents could put a blocker on the iPad so they couldn't. Well, actually, the parent could put a blocker on the kid itself so they couldn't see blood, they couldn't see anything that would sex, any of these things. You know what I'm saying? It was blocked. So she figured out how to get through the blocker and got addicted to watching porn. And when she started having sex with her boyfriend, she was doing what they did in the porn flicks, you know, harder, you know, like, you know, really, and he's like, I really don't need you to do all that, you know, like, that's this isn't a movie, that's a movie, this is real, you know, but she didn't know any better, because that's how she was taught.
It is.
Yeah, that's the only way she's ever seen it done. You know what I'm saying? So, what you was just saying, like not knowing how to caress a woman and touch, because they've only seen, like you was talking about porno earlier, Pornhub and Xvideo and all of those sites where it totally desensitize you to the sensual aspects of sex. You know what I'm saying? It's, you know, you whip it out, you know, she spits on it. You know what I'm saying? You know, totally. That's not how it works in the real world. You know what I'm saying? So very good. That's what I was gonna say, Bev. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And I think that's part of when you saying the talking, because through talking to a person, you know, those vibrations is going back and forth. So that's why you're saying that it's important for people to really talk to each other, be truthful with their conversation.
Yeah, it allows for connection. Like, even I don't like this. You'll be surprised how many women have sex where a man is doing something that they don't like, but since they haven't been taught, you know, to verbalize what's uncomfortable, a lot of women just, like, be uncomfortable during sex, don't have a conversation or communication for it. And if that's your boyfriend or your husband, over time you're going to resent that man for his inability to please you sexually. But at the other side, he didn't even know, because you was there just moaning and faking and screaming and acting all like it felt good, but you don't communicate and say, well, I really like it like this, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And I've heard women say that, you know, they've had sex, but they never was able to really come through the sex. You know, they went through the motion, but they didn't really get the release that they wanted. And that's what you're talking about, not being honest and speaking about, you know, what they're looking for. How do a person activate their DNA? I hear them talk about DNA activation.
For me, activating your DNA can happen when you operate in your parasympathetic system. So for most of our time down here, we in our sympathetic. So I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do stuff, be engaging in the world. So that's not parasympathetic, where we have to really let our body activate and, like, really get into a different state, which is meditation, relaxation, and clarity. Now, you can tell people to meditate years and years and years. People may or may not meditate. However, when you really get into the science of relaxing your body, allowing your parasympathetic system to take over, So you ain't concerned about how much money you made or what you got to do for the day. You let all of that go, and you get into what's actually happening is your DNA. Well, what is your DNA? Your DNA is the blueprint for what you should be doing. Now, this is a major key. We really outsource what we should be doing with our lives a lot of times. So until we are ready to say, maybe within myself is the codes and keys in the direction to my life, and I need to really read my blueprint, you go in yourself and you start reading your DNA. Now, when you close your eyes and you meditate and you let go, you got to really start to perceive what's happening. And it's something so magical that happens because even me, like I can forget about meditating. I'd be so caught up with my kids and my life that, I'm just so caught up in that. But for me, what had happened this past couple of weeks, I had to shut everything down. And I got a system, a plan of everything that I do, and got my own business, and I couldn't do none of the stuff that I wanted to do for me. I had to really deal with my kids and deal with my family and my household. So I didn't know what to do at all. And then I started to remember, okay, you need to meditate and get one-on-one with the plan that's for your life, because the ego is a powerful thing. It can take control like that. We can set up spiritual plans, and the ego just come in. All right, I got it, and that's what happened. That would happen for like this past couple of months. I didn't realize it, but my ego was taking control. And so if life get hard for you, it's probably your spirit telling you to slow down, go into yourself, look over the plan within yourself, your DNA, and act according to what your soul, your DNA, which is your ancestors passing information, right? When you are born, not only do your mom give you life, she give you information. So that if you want to access it, gotta stop. Gotta allow your consciousness to raise. And I know you're probably going through a lot with rent and job and kids, but take my advice. Don't wait for things to get so bad that then you got to start meditating. Start meditating now. Start reading. Start not reading books. Read yourself. Like when you got stuff within you, your DNA is billions and like they say, the DNA coding in me, like just all of us, like just one person, there's enough DNA code that like any computer, like a computer, you can't even fathom how many computers you would need to just equal one human body system. It's like we are ancient technology. And so it's like, well, what do I got to buy? What do I got to do? What is the extra stuff that I got to do? That's the irony of this whole thing. You don't need to do nothing. And that's going to be the hardest thing for us to do. Nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because our life is now just so supercharged with all this stuff that we got planned and all of our ambitions and our goals. But do you meditate? Another thing that really helps is might be, I don't know if y'all do this or not, but going to the graveyard. If you're struggling, if you got a blockage, probably your ancestors say, come pay me a visit, and you will get back on the swing of things. Like, and because your ancestors is your DNA. You are not a new, independent, amazing thing that just kind of was created and spawned out of nothingness. You are a result of people who have walked and lived and made decisions on this earth, and it all culminated into you. So it's our ego that says, what's my plan? what's my vision? What do I got to do? And that shit, that stuff do not work. You got to really get into what is the blueprint of your soul. And so it's going to be really having a dedicated process and plan to not only meditate, but relax the body so deeply that your DNA begins to take over.
And that's where it usually seems to be an issue, because just say that, you're struggling with something and you got that anxiety that comes all over you, and it's like, oh, I got to figure this out. Oh, I got to do that. And so you're saying, like, especially, even before it get to that, just go within. And this is how when all of a sudden the idea or the answer come to you, or the solution, it might not pop in right then. It might pop in the next day or an hour from then. And a lot of times, if your day is real busy, the best time to meditate is when you're laying down to go to sleep. Right before you go into that sleep stage. That's the time to go within. And
if you're busy with kids.
Yeah, so the answer is within. They taught us that everything we need is outside of us. We got to go look in the book. We got to go find out this. We got to go, but it's the reverse. You go within.
It's the reverse.
Everything that you need is inside. You got it already. And that's what
you got more than
do.
enough. Yeah. And like what you were saying, like sometimes you can get the idea, and then you would get the idea, you won't even notice it till a couple of days. Like I got the idea like 2 days ago. That's how powerful we are. We don't even realize when we getting blessed or when Spirit is giving us gifts. Because what I've also realized is that communication on a spiritual level is much different than communication on the human level. See, on the spiritual level, things are just going to happen. There ain't going to be no words. And so a lot of times when things are happening, like some people get readings and they'll be like, well, I know all of that, but I'm happy I got this reading because it was confirmation.
It confirmed
right?
it.
Meaning, because the Spirit had laid things out for you, but you just didn't hear the words. And so I just said the words of what's already happening. So sometimes you don't get the words that you're looking for, but if you trust this process, if you trust yourself, you will get the results.
And that's the main key. One of the main keys is trust. You got to trust when they give it to you. You can't be second guessing yourself. You can't be doubting yourself.
Yeah,
and that's a powerful part too.
Major key. Because if you don't trust, if you don't trust that you have the answers for yourself, then you're probably not going to meditate and go within yourself as much. If you knew that the solution to your problem was yourself, but then you decided, well, I'm not going to meditate, well, then you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe it is true because, you'll talk to your friends about how you really need this money for this thing and, ain't nobody helping you and all of that. But it's like you there to help yourself right here and now. But do you really trust? For me, I'm to the point now, it's beyond trust for me. I fell in a deep love with self because I don't want to pull no punches when it comes to this. Because I was talking to this girl the other day, and she was saying, well, I'm having a real tough time meditating. And so it just hit me. And I was like, well, think about that dude that you like so much, right? And he's telling you, well, I need you to pick me up from work and drop me off. I go to work at 5 a.m. But you like him so much, you wake up at 4:30, pick him up, drop him off to work, and pick him up and do all of this stuff for this man because you love him and you like him. But then when it comes to meditating, it's like, oh, I'm too busy for that. I can't. Well, view meditation as that dude that you like so much. And when he have you jumping through them hoops, look at meditation in your spirit like that. Love it. Don't view it as a chore. Don't view it as work, because it is really a labor of love. And I honestly wouldn't be here talking if my spirit, my soul, my ancestors, and this walk didn't save my life. I wouldn't even be here. I know this to be true. So I can sit here and I can say this, that you need to trust yourself more. I know that. And people will say, well, I just took this class and I just got this book and I just did that. And now I'm to the point where I'm like, well, that ain't going to help you. You don't even love yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got this wonderful book. You paid $100 for it, but you don't love yourself. So keep reading. You know what I'm saying? Take some notes. But holler at me when you say, man, there's nothing in this world that I love more than my soul. So I got to just meditate every day when I wake up and just be grateful that my soul is leading me and guiding me and helping me and aiding me, because that's what the soul does, Ain't nothing on this earth that save your butt more than your soul. But here you are, oh, I just love my baby daddy so much. You're like, okay, where he at? He somewhere. Well, what about your soul? Huh? What you talking about? It's like, you got to get there, though.
And that's what, and that's where what one of the problems is, too. Everything that we were taught, everything is showing us to look outside of us. But once we get that communication and get to know us, that's when you get to know yourself, and then you get to realize the power that you have. Then you get to realize that you are a true alchemist. Just like, a lot of people don't believe in the Bible and Jesus and God and all of that, but it was a message that was there. And Jesus, he was healing the sick and raising the dead and doing all kind of alchemy stuff. And his whole message was, you can do what I can do. He had tapped in to himself, his powers. And all of us have it, but the world keeps our attention away from that. It just, look at TV, go to work, do this, pay this bill. All of that is a distraction to keep you away from you, where the real power is at.
Yeah, that's really the truth. And I feel like we had known this and we was getting on the cusp of some stuff. But, they done threw a monkey wrench in it. So now we got to really double down and remind people, like, this thing is about you, not about your status. It's not about, having a whole bunch of things to impress people. But do you have peace of mind? Do you have peace in your heart? And these types of things create real true bonds and real true love. And it's like, that's how you get into sex and spirituality, where in this world is just nothing but sex, and it is really damaging people in their minds, because at a certain level we did have our biology and our chemistry that really want to connect and build with people, but we just don't know how, because the sex is just this compartmentalized thing, so I would say, really talk to your daughters, about sex. Don't just have her out here in the world. Yeah, and your sons, for sure. You got to talk to your sons for sure, because I got 4 sons, and that's definitely a topic that, talk to your sons and your daughters for sure.
And how are they going to know unless we have to? They are part of our DNA, and it's the teachers, not the teachers in school. They have their position, but we the real teachers, and we have to show them. We have to show them what to do, and they're going to end up doing it, but at least we give them some kind of guidance or something.
Some type of guidance. Yeah, something. They're going to do whatever they want to do at a certain level, but we can't just leave them out here butt naked, with nothing to protect themselves or nothing to fall back on mentally, because I could tell you that's a bad decision, and you'll do it anyway. But at least my dad told me I was going to crash out when that happened. So it's easier to not make those same mistakes twice.
Right. Now, what's the difference between a soulmate and a twin flame?
Well, a soulmate is because a soul is a piece of God, and we all have a piece of God within us. So when we mate, it's like just a friend. A mate is a friend. Like, hey, mate, like what they say in Australia. Now, a twin flame, soulmates could be a group of 100 people. It could be friends. It could be sons and daughters. It's just this warm, collective feeling. It could be a church, like a temple, a mosque. That all represents soulmates, because it's a lot of soulmates in here, and it's a lot of people who are operating on the mode of soulmates, where they go to the church that they just love so much, and they tithe every Sunday, because they around people that really support whatever. And then some people arrive past that church like, you won't catch me in there, and they'll create another soulmate tribe somewhere else. It's online soulmates, like it's this app called Discord where people just talk all day incessantly about things that I don't know what they're talking about, but they know what they're talking about because they operate on the level of soulmates. So soulmates don't indicate lovers or indicate intimate relationships, just indicates a bond. Twin flame, on the other hand, represents what I talked about earlier, where human beings are not man and female. Human beings are male and female, like one entity. So this is why when you have sex, it creates another life. Because it represents a form of God, right? Because what does God do? He creates. He brings things into existence. When a man and a woman are together, that represents God. That represents the ability to bring life into this world. Now, you can create children in the realm of your relationship, and you can create a whole world if you know how to use sex magic right. Just look at Taj Mahal. But he did all of the most impressive building in the whole world in all history because he loved his wife. Now, twin flames represent as a divine feminine, divine masculine. There is a opposite to that. It's a feminine that represents your masculine. Now, the tricky part to this is that if you're not operating in your spirit, you might be married, right? Have a husband and a wife, and then one day come across your twin flame. And you like, oh, shoot, what I'm going to do now, right? Because you done created this whole life with this person, and it's an obligation, it's love, it's family, it's kids, but that's not your opposite. That's not your twin flame. And obviously we know that everybody can't have a twin flame because we done live life long enough to see, like, it don't happen for everybody. Well, the Greeks, they knew this as well. This is why it was energies such as Aphrodite, and people would go to Aphrodite's temple and do offerings, because the Greeks knew love ain't just something that's just going to knock on my door one day. I need to be really have my head screwed on right to really like being prepared. It's a god known as opportunity in Greek, where if you don't grab him by the lock of his hair, it's going gone, and you will never get it again till it come back. You better grab it. So the same thing with love, where now we grow up in a world where people just feel like love is just something that's just going to happen to me because I'm just, whatever. the ancient way of thinking is like love is a very like twin flame, or being able to be in that type of relationship is a very rare. For one, it's very rare, and then when it happens, you better be in a situation to be able to capitalize on it, because it's not going to come in the form. A twin flame ain't, oh, I met my wife and we had this wonderful kids. And a twin flame is like, if you study on it, it could be somebody across the country that you know online. Y'all just be DMing each other all the time. They live in Switzerland somewhere, and you in Compton. Like, I just can't wait till I get to Switzerland one day. Like, because you know that's your twin flame. And that's much different between obligation, relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife. Is literally the flame of God that exists, and that's available to us to be really so satisfied in our relationships where it make all the sense in the world. Everything just falls into place. When you look at relationships, how they go ahead.
So would a twin flame also be like, you know, you could be a person and you could have your family, you could, you know, everything going along real good, and you could just meet a person and it just ignites something inside of you. Is
that's
that
a twin
flame?
That's a twin flame, and they're like, he cheated on me, or he left his, left his whole family for this girl that he met at the bus stop, because the power that represents that twin flame, you can't talk yourself into no twin flame relationship. You can't do enough. You would do everything for that man, and that man would just leave you at the drop of a hat, because we talking about real power and real spirituality. So it's not an everyday occurrence, but when you do feel it and you do notice it, you'll be like, wow, this is different than my wife even.
Right, or different than any other kind of affair or love that you, All right. Well, we come down to our last few minutes here, and I want to thank you, Hood Mystic, for joining us tonight. And
thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure. And people can contact you on hoodmystic.com. That's your website. And your email is there, too, if they want to email. And you have a book. Do you have a book?
Yeah, I do have a book.
Have a book out?
Yeah, I do. Chakra Nova. The stuff that we've been talking about, and this, if this interested you, I would suggest you Google Chakra Nova, purchase that, and get your chakras aligned, get your magnetism up, and really relate at a spiritual level. You know, it might take you some reading and some note taking, but we can all get there.
Go within. And so these are guides, these are tools that help you get there. If you build a house, you got to have certain tools to build that house.
Yes.
So this is what this is.
This
is what it is.
Yeah, all my books lead you to yourself. You know, I would never. You know, if anything, if your soul can't help you or guide you, then I don't know nothing about it.
All righty. Well, thank you again, Hood Mystic. And thanks everyone for listening. Yes, appreciate you. Keep up the good work. And thanks everyone for listening. Be back next time. I'll be back Monday with Tugmos. We're doing the show Monday. So join us Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Better love, everyone.
Oh,
Thank
baby,
you so much.
now let's get down tonight. Ooh, baby.